So you guys didn't take a shot on him?
No. We didn't even see the guy.
Yeah.
But that was my first like mission in Iraq. And the second one was we were going in downtown Baghdad, and gang members were there, and like terrorists were walking around. So we inserted 5 sniper teams. And the way they teach sniper is they teach countersniper. So if you don't do everything right, you assume that there's a sniper out there hunting for you.
Yeah.
So you have to. We build an urban hide, and it's a little bit different. It's a lot different than a rural hide. And we sit up. We get on target at dawn. So we literally break into somebody's house, kick them out, and then we take over the spot. And so then we're up, and the bad guys meet the parameters for taking shots.
What do those parameters consist of, or what did they then?
Military age male.
Looked at you wrong.
Well, we were 400 yards away. So they had different sashes on their arms, and they were wearing all black. So once
what were the sashes about?
That showed which gang they were in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, were they like legitimate terrorists, or was it more like organized crime gang kind of shit?
It was more probably organized crime, but what they were doing was they were transporting IED material.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like gangs, from a logistics and support standpoint, like supporting terrorist activity.
Yeah, and they were foreign fighters too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, all the sniper teams are like, "Hey, these meet the criteria." So then we get the 3, 2, 1, fire, and then it was just chaos.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So first target's like 250 yards away, which is like I might as well be shooting from me to you.
Yeah.
And you don't see your first shot because I'm on an elevated position. Like basically, I had to make a shooting position out of your desk. So it's not super stable. So every time I would take a shot, I would come off target. So the spotter would say, "Hey, that's a good shot." And next target's at 11 o'clock. Looks like he's 300, 325, and do a hold. And then you just take your other shot, and you're relying on your spotter to say, "Hey, that's a good shot. Next target's so and so." So when you're in an urban environment, you don't have what are called indicators, either be it trees, flags, showing you which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah.
So you can either look down at the ground and look at the mirage, and if the mirage is doing what's called a boil, the mirage is just coming straight up. There's no wind. But if there is a wind coming, it actually pushes the mirage over. And then there's kind of a calculation. If it's bending like this, it's 8 to 10. And then if it's bending like this, it's over 20.
Yeah.
So you can actually tell what the wind's doing, because the wind is the biggest indicator of if you hit the target or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's usually an hour on, hour off. So I'm on glass on the gun for an hour, and then we switch out, and then I become the spotter.
Yeah.
So it gets spicy out there, but we're engaging targets, and then it's time to go.
How long were you in that hour on, hour off and target engaging?
We didn't engage until hour like number 6.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Man. And were you spotting or shooting on the engagement?
I was spotting for the first engagement, and then we would switch out.
And so you ended up actually shooting somebody sniper wise?
Yeah.
Do you remember the distance?
It was we ranged them like 225.
Wow. I'm curious, to have a sniper that's taken that shot, and this is your first one after you were the spotter and you're the actual shooter. Can you kind of walk us through that couple of minute process from identifying through the entire shot?
Yeah. So,
and sorry to interrupt, and kind of what's going through your mind, if anything, any emotions, any thoughts, any of that kind of stuff.
Okay. So you want me to do it from the shooter perspective or spotter?
Shooter.
Okay. So
when you were doing it.
So I am on target, and we do what's called a range guard. So possible target spots at the end of this building's 225. Somebody's going to probably poke their head out, and then you range it out to probably 400 or 500. And then the spotter's behind me, and he has to get right behind my gun because he needs to track where the round is going. In case I happen to miss, then he's gonna, hey, come down a minute, over a minute, re-engage. So he's like, and every few seconds, he's reconfirming what the wind's doing. And he's like, okay, if you take your shot, hold 1 minute to the right. So normally in that wind condition, I was holding on the person's left chest. So over 220 yards, going to push the round, hit him center mass. And he's just calling out distances and reconfirming what the wind's doing. And then once the target comes up, he's like, target's right there, cleared to fire. And then I would take the shot, and like I said, it would come off target, so I didn't actually see the impact. All I could see was the spotter's like, that's a good shot. And he's like, okay, we have another one at 11 o'clock, 3:25. And then I'd have to scoot over, and but it has to happen really fast because as rounds are flying, they're starting to, they're reacting, and they see people going down. So they're smart, and they're either completely running away or the fighters are willing to stay. So then it's a constant check-in. Wind's still doing this. But at some point he kind of disengages, and you just kind of go into a zone because like, yeah, I got the target, and I see where they're coming. Just point out where they are, and I'll point out the distance, because at that time you're so dialed in and you know your weapon system. And I had a 300 Win Mag, so it shoots really flat and doesn't really get affected by the wind until about 300 or 400 yards. So it's almost point of aim, point of impact. So after the first couple of shots, I don't rely so much on the spotter, because I can see where the shots are going, and if I'm calling my shot the right way, then it's actually hitting the target. And all I'm waiting for him to say is, that's a good hit, your next target's here. Yeah. Or if we're not on the same page, if he's looking at 2 o'clock and I see a target at 11, I'll disregard what he's saying at 2. I was like, hey, I got another target at 11:30. He's like, roger that. And hopefully he'll find him, but that's not always the case, because it is chaotic out there, and you're kind of bouncing around all over targets. Yeah. So, and you have that oh shit moment. The first time, like at 225, you can still see his face, but his eyes have kind of a shadow. And at certain distances, you start to lose facial features. But at 200 yards, you can see his face. Yeah. Yeah. You can see his sweat and all that stuff. So it's really surreal when you're like, okay, this is not a paper target anymore. Yeah. This is a guy and doing bad stuff. So you're at work. So it doesn't hit you that, hey, he's got a family or something back home. We're at work, and he's going to hurt Americans. So we can't allow that. Yeah. And it's just, you're at work, and it's all business. There's no emotion involved with it. You're not like, oh man, I just hurt this guy. I shot him in the leg. It's like, hey, American was saved. And that's really how we approach it.